I've been working with a nurse dietitian for the last 6 months, and it's been life-changing. I've lost weight, healed my relationship with food, and have way more energy. Working with a dietitian online to create a personalized nutrition plan was so easy thanks to Nourish. The best part? I pay $0 out of pocket because Nourish accepts hundreds of insurance plans. 94% of patients pay $0 out of pocket. Find your dietitian at usenourish.com. That's usenourish.com. I've been working with a nurse dietitian for the last 6 months, and it's been life-changing. I've lost weight, healed my relationship with food, and have way more energy. Working with a dietitian online to create a personalized nutrition plan was so easy thanks to Nourish. The best part? I pay $0 out of pocket because Nourish accepts hundreds of insurance plans. 94% of patients pay $0 out of pocket. Find your dietitian at usenourish.com. That's usenourish.com.
November 5th, 1975. A quiet forest, a strange light, and a decision that changed everything. Travis Walton and his crew were heading home after a long day of logging when they saw it. A metallic craft hovering in the trees, humming with an unnatural glow. Before anyone could stop him, Travis stepped out of the truck, drawn toward it. Then, bam, a beam of blue light struck him, lifted him off the ground, and sent him flying. The crew did the only thing that made sense. They floored it and left him behind. When they finally worked up the courage to return, Travis was gone. No body, no sign of a struggle, just an empty clearing and the question that still lingers today. Did Travis Walton really vanish into the sky, or was this the most elaborate hoax ever pulled in the middle of the woods? All right, let's rewind a bit. Before the beam of light, before the headlines, before the whatever the hell happened, Travis Walton was just a guy doing his job. We're in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. Huge, dense, and the kind of place where you could get lost forever and no one would find you. It's November, so the air is crisp, and the sun is dipping down below the trees as Travis and his 6 crewmates finish up another back-breaking day of logging. These guys are rough around the edges, calloused hands, tired eyes, probably swapping dirty jokes that would get them banned from Facebook. They pile into a battered old truck, heading down a long, winding dirt road, just trying to get home. But then they see it. At first, it's just a glow. Orange, flickering, weirdly unnatural. Someone jokes that the forest is on fire. Someone else wonders if it's a crashed plane. But as they get closer, the jokes stop. Suspended in the trees, just hovering, is something none of them can explain. A metallic, disc-shaped craft, about 20 feet in diameter, pulsing with light and emitting a low electric hum. Now, most people, even the bravest, toughest, would have turned the truck around right there and never spoken of this again. But Travis is built different. Without a word, he throws open the door and steps out. The crew yells at him, "Get back in the truck." But Travis is locked in. He's walking closer, almost like he's hypnotized. And then it happens. A blinding beam of blue light shoots out from the craft, hitting him square in the chest. He's lifted off the ground, arms outstretched, before being thrown back with an unnatural force. For a moment, he just lies there, completely still. And that's when the crew does what any rational human being would do. They nuke the scene. They floor it, the truck fishtailing as they speed away, leaving Travis behind. Because here's the thing, at that moment, they don't think aliens got him. They think he's dead. Now imagine the horror of that drive. 7 guys enter the forest, only 6 are leaving. No one speaks. The truck is silent except for their own panicked breathing. But then, as the adrenaline fades, the guilt creeps in. Did they just leave their friend to die? Finally, after what seems like an eternity, they stop. They have to go back. They have to see if Travis is still there. So they turn the truck around and creep back toward the clearing. But when they get there, no craft, no light, no Travis. Just the wind rustling through the trees and the uneasy feeling that whatever just happened is not over. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. They didn't report it right away. They waited hours because deep down they knew what was coming. No one was going to believe them. But one thing was clear. Travis Walton had vanished into thin air. And when they finally did go to the police, well, things got even worse. At first, no one really knows how to explain what happened to Travis. There are two options, and neither one of them are great. Number one, they just watched their friend get abducted by aliens. Number two, they just murdered him and are making up the worst excuse in the history of crime. The second one, that's the one the police are leaning toward. The moment Travis is reported missing, the town erupts. Snowflake, Arizona isn't exactly a bustling metropolis. It's a small, tight-knit community where everyone knows everyone else's business. And now, half the town is convinced that this crew of loggers straight up axed their coworker to death and dumped the body. So a search begins. And not just a let's walk around and call out his name kind of search. We're talking about helicopters, police dogs, search and rescue teams combing through the woods. If Travis Walton is out there, dead or alive, they are going to find him. And yet, they don't. Not a trace, no blood, no footprints, no torn clothing, just nothing. At this point, the police are done playing games. If these guys won't confess, they'll at least crack under pressure. The entire logging crew is brought in for questioning, and when they stick to their insane-sounding story, law enforcement takes things up a notch. Now, let's be real. Polygraphs are far from perfect. But in 1975, they were basically treated like an infallible truth serum. The cops are betting that at least one of these guys will fail, and then it's handcuffs for everybody. But here's the weird thing. They all pass. Every single one of them, except for one guy whose results are inconclusive because he was too nervous to finish the test. This is where things get messy. If these men were lying, someone should have cracked under pressure. Instead, the tests only add fuel to the fire. Maybe, just maybe, they actually saw what they said they saw. But what if it wasn't aliens? What if Travis is alive somewhere, part of an elaborate hoax? And that's when, after 5 days, the town gets an answer. It's the middle of the night when the phone rings at the Walton household. On the other end, a weak, dazed voice. It's Travis, and he has no idea what just happened to him. The details are hazy, but Travis says he woke up confused, dehydrated, and terrified on the side of the road about 30 miles from where he disappeared. He manages to stumble to a gas station where he calls his family in a complete state of shock. By the time he gets home, the media is already on fire. Imagine this. You vanish under deeply suspicious circumstances, and then when you return, you say, "Hey, so I was on a spaceship." People are not going to take that well. But Travis doesn't care. He's rattled, exhausted, and visibly shaken, and when he starts describing what happened, things go from bizarre to downright terrifying. According to Travis, he didn't just black out after getting hit with that beam of light. He woke up inside what he thought was a hospital. Except, as his eyes adjusted, he realized the figures standing over him weren't doctors. They were small, hairless, huge eyes, frail humanoid, but absolutely not human. He panicked, naturally. He fought them off, scrambling out of the room, only to find himself inside what could only be described as a spaceship. And then, as if this couldn't get any stranger, he encounters someone different. A tall, human-like figure in a blue jumpsuit. Not one of the frail gray beings, but something else entirely. This figure doesn't speak, just guides him. And before Travis knows it, he blacks out again. The next thing he remembers, waking up on the roadside. When Travis returned, something obviously was off. He wasn't malnourished. He wasn't dirty or injured, just disoriented. Blood tests showed an unusually low level of ketones, something that shouldn't be possible after 5 days without food. So if he wasn't starving, what exactly was keeping him alive? At this point, the world had two choices: believe Travis Walton, a man with no history of lying, or assume he staged the most elaborate disappearance ever, convinced 6 other men to play along, and somehow returned in perfect condition. Either way, one thing was certain: Travis Walton wasn't just a logger anymore. His story was about to become legendary. The UFO craze of the 1970s was in full swing, and his story was either the best proof yet or the wildest hoax ever. Reporters swarmed. Believers called him a hero. Skeptics called him a fraud. Scientists tried to explain it away. Hallucination, hoax, anything but aliens. But Travis never wavered. He never wanted the spotlight, only stepping forward to defend his crew from murder accusations. It didn't matter. The second he spoke, the world made up its mind. Travis Walton was now that guy, and there was no going back. Travis Walton didn't just come back to Earth. He came back to a life that would never be normal again. People either worshipped him or tore him apart. Strangers showed up at his house demanding proof. Skeptics picked apart every word of his story. Scientists called it a hoax. And all through it, Travis had to live with the fact that something happened to him, something he couldn't explain, and no one would ever fully believe. His relationships suffered. Work became impossible. He spent years defending himself, taking polygraph tests, and rehashing the worst night of his life over and over. But no matter how much evidence he had, the world had already made up its mind. And yet, decades later, Travis passed another round of lie detector tests. The skeptics never managed to fully debunk him. And that light in the Arizona forest, it was never explained. Whatever happened to Travis Walton, one thing is certain. He never broke character, because maybe he never had to. The Travis Walton case sits in that weird space between legend and controversy. It's the kind of story that refuses to die because no matter how many people try to explain it away, there are just enough unanswered questions to keep it alive. The skeptics insist it was a hoax, maybe cooked up as a way to get out of logging contracts or chase fame. Never mind that there was no big payday, no airtight explanation for how Travis pulled it off, and no way to explain why 6 other men stuck to the story under intense scrutiny. Some scientists have suggested it was a hallucination, a mix of exhaustion, fear, and the power of suggestion, which would be easier to believe if the entire crew hadn't seen the exact same thing. Then there are the details that no one can explain. The radiation readings near the site, the biological anomalies in Travis's medical tests, the fact that despite decades of pressure to confess, he never did. So what does this leave us with? Either Travis is one of the greatest liars of all time, or something truly unbelievable happened to him in the Arizona woods. And if it did, what does that mean for the rest of us? Even now, I believe his story. Not just because of the evidence, but because this was one of those cases. The ones that stick with you. The ones that make you wonder what else is out there, just beyond what we can see. This story is part of what got me interested in all things alien and unknown in the first place. Maybe Travis Walton was taken that night. Maybe he wasn't. But if you ever find yourself alone in the woods and you see a bright light overhead, you might want to think twice before walking toward it. Thanks for listening to this episode of 10-Minute Mystery. If you like what you heard, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps other curious minds find the show. And if you're craving more stories, but with a darker twist, check out my other podcast, 10-Minute Murder. Thanks for listening to 10-Minute Mystery. See you next time.
I recently found out that you can see a personal dietitian covered by insurance. There's this platform called Nourish that will match you with a dietitian based on whatever your concerns are, whether that's weight loss, eating disorders, autoimmune conditions, or something else. They're actually a network with major insurance providers, so most patients pay $0 out of pocket. 94% of patients pay $0 out of pocket. Find your dietitian at usenourish.com. That's usenourish.com. If you have health insurance, you might be able to see a personal dietitian for $0 out of pocket. Nourish connects you with a dietitian that fits your needs, covered by your insurance. Nourish accepts hundreds of insurance plans, and 94% of patients pay $0 out of pocket. Meet with your dietitian online and message them anytime through the Nourish app. With hundreds of 5-star reviews from real patients, you know you're in good hands. Find your dietitian at usenourish.com. That's usenourish.com.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery. Ends President's Day. Exclusively to Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.